Very often when you create programs, you need to include binary files such as pictures or sounds or other binary items that need to be included in the program. For example, if you're creating games, you might need some images and sounds that are used every time that the game is played. As you've seen, you can download binary files easily from the web or load them easily from a hard drive or a thumb drive or any other sort of device that Rebol can connect to. But when you're distributing programs, that method doesn't work so well. For example, you don't want to have to rely on an internet connection to be available every single time you play a small little game. You can also, you've seen, pack those items together in XPack or X, or you could include them in a zip file, but those methods also aren't desirable. For example, if you're in Linux or Mac, XPacker only works for Windows. Oftentimes people don't know how to work with zip files or other packages. So there's an easier way. Using this little program here, we're going to save this as a file. We'll call it embed.r. So I'm going to open a notepad and save it. You notice it has the Rebol header. I'm going to save this. This little program will create a text file that has all of the binary data needed to reconstruct an image or a sound or any other binary file and use it in Rebol. Call this embed.r. Save that, and now we can run it just like we've run any of the other scripts that we've saved, as you saw in the previous section. So we can go into Rebol and type do and run it, or we can put it in the text editor and run it, or we can just click on it. We're just going to click on it. So here's our embed, and we can run that. And what it does is it lets us select a file, and when it runs, we're not going to give it any info right now, but when it runs, it will give us back a bunch of text that represents that binary file. Here's a binary file we're going to use. It's a little image saved on a web server. I'm going to save that image to my hard drive called test.png. Now when we run the embedder, I'm going to select that whole image, open it, and it gives us a pile of text here. I'm going to copy. And we can use that in a Rebol script without having to have any other binary files. We don't actually have to have that image now. And we can put it into our Rebol interpreter, and what we're going to do is give it a variable name. Assign it a word. We'll call that word picture. Give all that data that we just created. And here it is in the tutorial. Now we're going to load that into a layout, into a GUI. View, layout. Make an image in that layout, in that GUI. We'll load that picture data. And there it is. There's the GUI containing that image. That whole program is just a bunch of text. There is no actual image. It's just been converted to a text file format that we can put right in the code of our program. Here's another image. This is an image of my dog. It's a big one. Copy all that, paste it into Rebol, and then we're going to view it, and then we're going to save it to a file. So again, here there is no image file. It's just all saved in a text format. Make sure I copy this. And we go into Rebol, paste all that, run it as a GUI, and you've got a image that came directly from the text file. And save it and so forth. Save that. Now there's a file on the hard drive that contains that image, and it all came from that text file representation of the binary file. Those files, as you saw with the dog image, even for that small image, they can get pretty big. Those text files can get big. So here I'm going to create a new binary embedder. save that as a text file. Those are some tools that you should save and use when you need them. Whenever you need to embed a binary file in your program. Again, save this. I'll call this embed 2. Now we can run that when we want, and it'll do the same thing, but this time you're going to see there's a compression function. So again, it does what we did before. It requests a file. If there's no file, it quits. And it reads that file in as data. And now it compresses it. So it converts it to a string form. It's important. It converts it to a string form and compresses it. And then it runs the editor and shows us that compressed text data. It also shows a little thing here at the end, shows us the length, the size of the uncompressed data and the size of the compressed data. Very important to notice that when this program runs, it has to work this way. We converted this info, the uncompressed info, to a string. When we want to use it again, we have to convert it back to binary. So whenever you use any compressed data that was gotten from this program, you need to convert it back, and then you can use that image or that data, that binary data, in your program. So I'm going to now take an example here. An example. Here's an image. Loads that image. Quite big. Here's a compressed version of that exact same image. Notice that there is the toBinary function in there, so that compressed image is converted back to binary. And we put it into the first one into a GUI, and we put the second one into the GUI, and you'll see that those are the exact same images. Here's the first one, and there's the second one. So when you use this, it's typically better just to compress it. It takes one extra step for the computer to do it, but it's so quick that you won't notice the difference.